The buff that Starlight got at the end of season 4 of The Boys might be better than what people think. The difference between someone like Starlight losing her powers and someone like Spider-Man is that Spider-Man's webs were actually useful. Going off of memory, I don't think I've ever seen Starlight do any kind of significant damage with her light beams to another suit. It's so bad that they kinda just laugh in her face about it.
Put him away. Not gonna hurt you. Or Huey or your families. Besides, you'd lose.
Stop it! You know how that ends.
What are you doing here?
The eyes. It's always the eyes. Here.
Starlight's light beams were so insignificant that she's the first superhero I've seen lose a power and somehow become more of a successful fighter because of it. She beat up Firecracker. Technically, she still had her powers in this fight, but it was mostly hands, so I count it. She was able to beat the Shapeshifter despite the fact that she was just in captivity for 10 days. The Deep was ragdolling her before A-Train showed up, but a win's a win. And after having what was probably her most successful season as a fighter, we see her take off like Captain Marvel. This is definitely the most impressive thing we've seen Starlight do in the entire show. I mean, I'm no physicist, but I'm sure the power required to take off like this has to be something serious. What makes this even crazier is that we know that Starlight's powers are dependent on there being energy sources nearby. But even the blast that she was only able to produce because Huey turned the power all the way up in the studio doesn't compare to this. And this was done basically in the middle of nowhere, which brings me to my two theories. First theory being, what if she can now draw power from the sun? It sounds kinda goofy, but her name is Starlight. As crazy as a buff as that would be, the second possibility is even crazier. What if Starlight figured out how to use her powers from within? What I mean by that is the same way Stormfront can make electricity just come out of her hands, or the same way Homelander can make lasers come out of his eyes. What if Starlight figured out how to do that with her powers? I do have some evidence for this. If you notice in the past, whenever Starlight would use her powers around cars or any other electronic, they would start to tweak out. But in the scene where she reawakens her powers, there are no signs of this. Now, I'm not gonna lie, they did a real good job at not showing any electronics and keeping it real ambiguous. Regardless though, I feel pretty confident that at least one of these is true. Otherwise, it's gonna be a very short flight for Starlight, as there aren't a lot of power sources that high up in the sky.